Listen in as Ben and Vanessa discuss the hidden causes of anxiety and depression based on the insights of Johan Hari.
I have been sitting with a lot of heavy thoughts recently, Vanessa. For a really long time, I had these two mysteries hanging over me, and I did not understand them. To be honest, I was quite afraid to look into them.
That sounds really heavy, Ben. What kind of mysteries are you talking about?
The first mystery was that I am 40 years old, and all throughout my lifetime, year after year, serious depression and anxiety have risen in the United States, in Britain, and across the Western world. I wanted to understand why this is happening to us. Why is it that with each year that passes, more and more of us are finding it harder to get through the day?
It is a question that a lot of people are asking right now. It feels like a crisis that just keeps growing. What was the second mystery?
It was more personal. When I was a teenager, I remember going to my doctor and explaining that I had this feeling like pain was leaking out of me. I could not control it, and I did not understand why it was happening. I felt quite ashamed of it, actually.
I think a lot of people feel that shame. We are taught that we should be able to handle everything on our own. What did your doctor say when you told him that?
He told me a story that I now realize was well-intentioned but quite oversimplified. He said, we know why people get like this. He said some people just naturally get a chemical imbalance in their heads, and that I was clearly one of them.
The classic chemical imbalance theory. It has been the dominant narrative for decades.
Exactly. He said all we need to do is give you some drugs and it will get your chemical balance back to normal. So I started taking a drug called Paxil or Seroxat, which is the same thing, just different names in different countries.
Did it work for you? Did you feel any better?
I felt much better at first. I got a real boost. But not very long afterwards, this feeling of pain started to come back. So I was given higher and higher doses until for 13 years I was taking the maximum possible dose that you are legally allowed to take.
13 years is a long time to be on a maximum dose. Did it eventually solve the problem?
No. For a lot of those 13 years and pretty much all the time by the end, I was still in a lot of pain. I started asking myself, what is going on here? Because I was doing everything I was told to do by the story that is dominating the culture, yet I still felt like that.
It must have been incredibly confusing to follow the medical advice perfectly and still feel so broken.
It was. So to get to the bottom of these mysteries, I ended up going on a big journey all over the world. I traveled over 40,000 miles. I wanted to sit with the leading experts in the world about what causes depression and anxiety, and crucially, what solves them.
That sounds like an incredible journey. What did you learn from talking to all those experts?
I learned a huge amount, but I think at the heart of what I learned is that so far we have scientific evidence for 9 different causes of depression and anxiety. 2 of them are indeed in our biology. Your genes can make you more sensitive to these problems, though they do not write your destiny.
So the biology part is real, but it is not the whole picture.
Exactly. There are real brain changes that can happen when you become depressed that can make it harder to get out. But most of the factors that have been proven to cause depression and anxiety are not in our biology. They are factors in the way we live.
That is a huge shift in perspective. If the causes are in the way we live, then the solutions must be different too, right?
Precisely. Once you understand them, it opens up a very different set of solutions that should be offered to people alongside the option of chemical antidepressants.
Can you give me an example of one of these factors?
Sure. For example, if you are lonely, you are more likely to become depressed. If when you go to work, you do not have any control over your job, and you have just got to do what you are told, you are more likely to become depressed. If you very rarely get out into the natural world, you are more likely to become depressed.
Those all sound like things that are very common in modern life.
They are. And one thing unites a lot of the causes of depression and anxiety that I learned about. Everyone knows we have natural physical needs like food, water, shelter, and clean air. If I took those away from you, you would be in trouble fast. But at the same time, every human being has natural psychological needs.
Like the need to belong?
Yes. You need to feel you belong. You need to feel your life has meaning and purpose. You need to feel that people see you and value you. You need to feel you have a future that makes sense.
And our culture is not doing a good job of meeting those needs, is it?
Not at all. We have been getting less and less good at meeting these deep underlying psychological needs. I found this really hard to absorb at first. I wrestled with the idea of shifting from thinking of my depression as just a problem in my brain to one with many causes, including the way we live.
What helped you finally accept that new way of thinking?
It only really began to fall into place for me when I went to interview a South African psychiatrist named Dr. Derek Summerfield. He happened to be in Cambodia in 2001 when they first introduced chemical antidepressants for people in that country.
What happened in Cambodia?
The local doctors had never heard of these drugs, so they asked what they were. When he explained, they said they did not need them because they already had antidepressants. He thought they were going to talk about some herbal remedy like St. John's wort.
But they meant something else, didn't they?
Yes, they told him a story. There was a farmer in their community who worked in the rice fields. One day he stood on a landmine left over from the war with the United States, and he got his leg blown off.
That is absolutely tragic.
They gave him an artificial leg, and after a while he went back to work. But apparently it is super painful to work underwater when you have an artificial limb. And I am guessing it was pretty traumatic to go back and work in the field where he got blown up.
I can only imagine the psychological toll that would take.
The guy started to cry all day. He refused to get out of bed. He developed all the symptoms of classic depression. The Cambodian doctor said this is when they gave him an antidepressant.
And what was it?
They sat with him. They listened to him. They realized that his pain made sense. It was hard for him to see it in the throes of his depression, but actually it had perfectly understandable causes in his life. One of the doctors figured that if they bought this guy a cow, he could become a dairy farmer.
A cow?
Yes, a cow. If he was a dairy farmer, he would not be in the position that was screwing him up so much. He would not have to go and work in the rice fields. So they bought him a cow. Within a couple of weeks, his crying stopped. Within a month, his depression was gone.
That is an amazing story. The cow was the antidepressant.
Exactly. If you had been raised to think about depression the way I was, that sounds like a bad joke. But what those Cambodian doctors knew intuitively is what the World Health Organization has been trying to tell us for years. If you are depressed or anxious, you are not weak, you are not crazy, you are not a machine with broken parts. You are a human being with unmet needs.
It is a powerful message. It shifts the blame from the individual to the situation.
And notice what they did not say. They did not say, hey buddy, you need to pull yourself together. They said, we are here as a group to pull together with you so together we can figure out and fix this problem. This is what every depressed person needs and deserves.
That makes so much sense. But how do we apply that in our society where the problems are more complex than needing a cow?
That is what I kept thinking. But I kept meeting people who were doing exactly that. I want to focus on two of the causes and two of the solutions I learned about. The first is loneliness. We are the loneliest society in human history.
I have seen the statistics. It is frightening how disconnected we have become.
A recent study asked Americans if they feel like they are no longer close to anyone. 39% of people said that described them. In international measurements, Britain and the rest of Europe are just behind the US.
Why do you think we are so lonely?
Professor John Cacioppo, the leading expert on loneliness, asked why we exist. One key reason is that our ancestors on the savannas of Africa were really good at banding together into groups and cooperating. This was our superpower as a species. Humans evolved to live in a tribe.
And now we have disbanded our tribes.
Exactly. And it is making us feel awful, but there is a hero in my book named Dr. Sam Everington, a GP in East London, who pioneered a different approach. He had a patient named Lisa Cunningham, who had been shut away in her home with crippling depression and anxiety for 7 years.
7 years is such a long time to be isolated. What did Dr. Everington do for her?
When she came to his center, she was told they would continue her medication, but they were also going to prescribe something else. They prescribed for her to come to the center twice a week to meet with a group of other depressed and anxious people to figure out something meaningful they could do together.
That sounds like a big step for someone with such severe anxiety.
It was. The first time the group met, Lisa literally started vomiting with anxiety, but the people rubbed her back, and the group started talking. They decided to learn gardening and turn a scrubland behind the offices into a garden.
Gardening can be very therapeutic.
It is. Exposure to the natural world is a powerful antidepressant. But they started to do something even more important. They started to form a tribe. They started to care about each other. If one didn't show up, the others would go looking for them.
They built a community.
Yes. Lisa told me that as the garden began to bloom, they began to bloom. This approach is called social prescribing, and it is spreading all over Europe. It suggests that the solution to these problems lies in reconnecting with something bigger than you.
That connects to the idea that we shouldn't just be ourselves, but be part of a group.
Exactly. Professor Hugh McKay in Australia said that instead of telling people just to be yourself, we should say, do not be yourself, be us, be we. Be part of a group.
That is profound. What was the second cause you wanted to talk about?
It is about what we value. Everyone knows junk food has taken over our diets and made us physically sick. Well, junk values have taken over our minds and made us mentally sick.
Junk values? You mean materialism?
Yes. For thousands of years, philosophers have said if you think life is about money and status and showing off, you are going to feel like crap. But now we have scientific investigation into this by Professor Tim Kasser.
What did his research find?
His research suggests that the more you believe you can buy and display your way out of sadness and into a good life, the more likely you are to become depressed and anxious. And secondly, as a society, we have become much more driven by these beliefs.
It is hard not to be driven by them when we are constantly bombarded with advertising and social media.
It is like we have all been fed since birth, a kind of KFC for the soul. We have been trained to look for happiness in all the wrong places. Just like junk food doesn't meet your nutritional needs, junk values don't meet your psychological needs.
So how do we fight back against these junk values?
Professor Kasser did an experiment with a guy named Nathan Dungan. They got a group of teenagers and adults to come together for a series of sessions. The point was to get people to think about a moment in their life when they actually found meaning and purpose.
Like playing music or helping someone?
Exactly. And then they asked, how could you dedicate more of your life to pursuing these moments of meaning and purpose and less to buying crap you do not need?
Did it work?
It was like Alcoholics Anonymous for consumerism. Getting people to have these meetings, articulate these values, and check in with each other led to a marked shift in people's values. It took them away from the hurricane of depression-generating messages.
That is really hopeful. It shows we can change if we have support.
We can. But we have to change our understanding of what depression and anxiety actually are. We have to stop viewing them as just a biological malfunction.
If they are not a malfunction, what are they?
Depression is a signal. It is telling you something. We feel this way for reasons, and they can be hard to see in the throes of depression. But with the right help, we can understand these problems and fix them together.
So we need to stop insulting the signal and start listening to it.
Yes, we need to honor these signals because they are telling us something we really need to hear. It is only when we truly listen to these signals that we are going to begin to see the liberating, nourishing, deeper solutions.
The cows that are waiting all around us.
Exactly, the cows that are waiting all around us.
Thank you for sharing all of this, Ben. It gives me a lot to think about regarding my own life and how I connect with others.
You are welcome, Vanessa. I think we all need to think about it. We need to be less about me and more about we.
Now test your understanding of the conversation with this 25-question quiz. Question 1. What was the first mystery Ben mentioned he had been struggling with? Why he couldn't find a job. B. Why serious depression and anxiety have risen across the Western world. C. Why he had chronic back pain. D. Why he couldn't sleep. The correct answer for question 1 is B. Why serious depression and anxiety have risen across the Western world. Question 2. What explanation did Ben's doctor originally give him for his feelings? A. A chemical imbalance in his head. B. A lack of vitamins. C. Too much stress at work. D. A viral infection. The correct answer for question 2 is A. A chemical imbalance in his head. Question 3. How long was Ben taking the maximum possible dose of antidepressants? A. 5 years. B. 10 years. C. 13 years. D. 20 years. The correct answer for question 3 is C. 13 years. Question 4. How many causes of depression and anxiety have scientific evidence according to the conversation? A. 3. B. 5. C. 9. D. 12. The correct answer for question 4 is C. 9. Question 5. What happened to the Cambodian farmer discussed in the conversation? A. He lost his farm to a bank. B. He stepped on a landmine and lost his leg. C. He lost his family in a war. D. He became physically sick from water. The correct answer for question 5 is B. He stepped on a landmine and lost his leg. Question 6. Why was the artificial leg problematic for the farmer? A. It was too heavy to walk with. B. It was painful to work underwater in the rice fields. C. It did not fit him properly. It broke immediately. The correct answer for question 6 is B. It was painful to work underwater in the rice fields. Question 7. What did the Cambodian doctors give the farmer as an antidepressant? A. A cow. B. A new tractor. C. Herbal medicine. D. A prosthetic upgrade. The correct answer for question 7 is A. A cow. Question 8. According to the World Health Organization, what should we talk more about regarding mental health? A. Chemical imbalances. B. Imbalances in the way we live. C. The need for stronger medication. D. Genetic history. The correct answer for question 8 is B. Imbalances in the way we live. Question 9. What psychological need does Ben say is as important as physical needs? A. The need to be famous. B. The need to feel we belong. C. The need to be wealthy. D. The need to travel. The correct answer for question 9 is B. The need to feel we belong. Question 10. What percentage of people in a recent study said they feel no longer close to anyone? A. 25%. B. 39%. C. 50%. D. 10%. The correct answer for question 10 is B. 39%. Question 11. Who is the leading expert on loneliness mentioned in the conversation? A. Professor Tim Kasser. B. Professor John Cacioppo. C. Dr. Sam Everington. D. Dr. Derek Summerfield. The correct answer for question 11 is B. Professor John Cacioppo. Question 12. What was the superpower of human ancestors on the savannas of Africa? A. Running fast. B. Banding together into groups. C. Making tools. D. Climbing trees. The correct answer for question 12 is B. Banding together into groups. Question 13. Who is Sam Everington? A. A doctor in East London. B. A. Cambodian farmer. C. A philosopher. D. A researcher in Illinois. The correct answer for question 13 is A. A doctor in East London. Question 14. How long had the patient Lisa been shut away in her home? A. 2 years. B. 5 years. C. 7 years. D. 10 years. The correct answer for question 14 is C. 7 years. Question 15. What happened the first time Lisa met with the group? A. She left immediately. B. She vomited with anxiety. C. She laughed uncontrollably. D. She fell asleep. The correct answer for question 15 is B. She vomited with anxiety. Question 16. What project did Lisa's group undertake? A. Building a library. B. Turning scrubland into a garden. C. Painting a mural. D. Cleaning the streets. The correct answer for question 16 is B. Turning scrubland into a garden. Question 17. What analogy does Ben use to describe junk values? A. A broken engine. BKFC for the soul. C. A leaking roof. D. A faded painting. The correct answer for question 17 is BKFC for the soul. Question 18. What does research by Professor Tim Kasser suggest causes depression? A. Believing you can buy your way to a good life. B. Working too hard at a meaningful job. C. Spending too much time in nature. D. Reading too many books. The correct answer for question 18 is A. Believing you can buy your way to a good life. Question 19. What did the group studied by Nathan Dungan and Professor Kasser focus on? A. Moments of meaning and purpose. B. Investment strategies. C. Fashion trends. D. Political debates. The correct answer for question 19 is A. Moments of meaning and purpose. Question 20. How does Ben describe the culture we live in? A. A machine designed to get us to neglect what is important. B. A paradise of opportunity. C. A confusing puzzle. Sleep. 5. Anna D. A supportive network. The correct answer for question 20 is A. A machine designed to get us to neglect what is important. Question 21. What term does Ben use to describe the meetings about values? A. A book club. B. Alcoholics Anonymous for consumerism. C. A business seminar. D. A therapy session. The correct answer for question 21 is B. Alcoholics Anonymous for consumerism. Question 22. Instead of a malfunction, what should depression be viewed as? A. A virus. B. A signal. C. A choice. D. A punishment. The correct answer for question 22 is B. A signal. Question 23. What did the Cambodian doctors emphasize to the farmer? A. He had to fix the problem alone. B. We are here to pull together with you. C. He needed to take medication forever. D. He should move to the city. The correct answer for question 23 is B. We are here to pull together with you. Question 24. What natural thing is described as a powerful antidepressant? A. Exposure to the natural world. B. Heavy rain. C. Strong wind. D. Sand. The correct answer for question 24 is A. Exposure to the natural world. Question 25. What does Ben imply is the first step to finding solutions? A. Ignoring the pain. B. Listening to and honoring the signal of depression. C. Increasing medication dosage immediately. D. Buying new things. The correct answer for question 25 is B. Listening to and honoring the signal of depression.